Hello and welcome to Freed Indeed Live. I'm your host, Kevin J.N. Hughes, and I'm with Sako Gekchian. And we're going to have prayer, and then our plan is to dive into APTV again with his, because he's a failure and therefore believes Eastern Orthodoxy fails. So we're going to once again be responding to one of the worst people ever to emerge from YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. But before I do, well, let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly King, the Comforter, the Spirit of Truth, you are in all places, filling all things, treasury of good gifts and giver of life. Come and abide in us and cleanse us from all impurities and save our souls, O good one. Lord, we lift up APTV and ask that you would convert this man to Holy Orthodoxy. We ask that you would convert people who are in the false religion of Calvinism to Eastern Orthodoxy. We ask that you would bless our work towards the Hindus as well and bring them into the true faith. And we ask that you would bless our discussion, and I pray for your blessing on the work that Patriarch Kirill is doing, and I don't know the names of the other patriarchs involved, but the work that's going on to try to bring to pass the reunification of the OO and the EO. I pray that this would be blessed and given success, and I pray for your name to be magnified in us and in all that we do. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, my man, this morning I did a live stream and before I took my daughter to an appointment. And then while I was on that stream, there was a guy who joined, and he starts out by saying, "I'm Oriental Orthodox." And I was like, okay. And then he starts talking, and I'm like, this guy, I thought that there was something weird going on. Like, I thought he was trying to paint me as an historian. So I'm like, dude, are your questions sincere, or are you like trying to like do some kind of cornering thing? And he's like, no, it's sincere. I'm like, okay. So I start listening to him, and I'm like, wait, are you saying you believe that Jesus did not have a human soul? And he's like, yes, Jesus did not have a human soul. I'm like, what? So that was when I messaged you, and I'm like, bro, I need your help. What's going on? And then you messaged me back, and you said, I think he's just taking the Bible to, like, the biblical language of the soul too literally. So I asked him, I'm like, what do you think a soul is? And he says it's breath or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so I think you might just be taking this too literally, bro. Like, but what you're saying is, and I tried to explain to him, like, if Jesus doesn't have a human soul, then our souls can't be redeemed. Because if Jesus doesn't have a human soul, then our human nature hasn't been fully united to God. And this guy straight up said that he thought that Jesus's soul was God. Like, that Jesus was just God who took on a human body.
Wow. It really goes to show how much like people, even in our modern society, suffer from Plato brain.
Right? Exactly. I'm like, dude, do you understand that the human person is more than just a body? And he's like, yes, I understand. But Jesus is God. I'm like, so you don't believe Jesus was fully a human person then? And it's just like after a while I said to him, I'm like, dude, honestly, I think you need to talk to your priest.
That's Apollinarianism, Patrick.
Exactly. That was exactly what I said. I'm like, dude, that's Apollinarianism. Like, you need to. And finally, I just started saying, like, you really should talk to your priest. Like, I don't think I'm the one you should be talking to. Like,
Yeah.
your priest is gonna correct you on this. And
Yeah,
so,
again, that is quite literally monophysitism.
right?
that is that is that's not what we believe.
Well, it's even crazier because, like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, wait, isn't the whole thing about Oriental Orthodox? It's like your whole thing is that you reject Nestorianism, right?
Yeah,
And then
and
this guy,
Eutychianism.
right, and Eutychianism, and then this guy is like basically confessing Nestorianism on my live, and I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure you don't even know your own faith. Like, I'm not trying to be
No,
mean, bro, but you don't even
no,
know your own faith. Like,
he wasn't confessing Nestorianism. He was confessing Eutychianism,
right. So it's just like,
which is sort of like adjacent or overlapping with Apollinarianism.
right. Yeah, Eutychianism. That was okay, that was the word that I was trying to remember this morning. I kept thinking, like, okay, hold on a second. I even said on the live, I was like, okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to remember the name of this heresy. And it's like adjacent to Nestorianism and adjacent to Apollinarianism. But I couldn't remember the word, and it was Eutychianism. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So it's like, man, okay, shit. I know this is almost making me wanna like divert the episode to talk about the soul again. Like because it's like I feel like it needs to be uh addressed. Because it's like you know, I feel like we could have like a sort of like in some sense like multi episode or whatever, because I do want to, not now that you brought it up, I do want to briefly talk about it.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Um
That was part of the reason why I wanted, like, to be honest, part of the reason why I wanted to hit you with that wasn't just,
mhm.
it was not to be like, dude, check it out. There was this guy and he's just like you and he's dumb as hell. It wasn't that at all. It's actually
Mhm.
because I told this guy, I was like, so I have a lot of OO friends, and one of my best friends is OO, and I'm gonna be talking to him about this. So I kind of want to be able to send that guy um the link to our episode today so that he can see, like, because what I worry is that he's going to be like, well, of course this EO guy is saying I'm a heretic because he's just being unreasonable or whatever. So I kind of want to be able to send him this and have it be like, look, dude, somebody who knows your tradition and is in your tradition is telling you that what you're saying is not is not Christianity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Pe- people people really don't understand what we mean, which is like, apparently even some of our own don't get it, what we mean by one incarnate nature.
Right. Well, that was how it started, is he was saying one incarnate nature, and I was like, okay. And then he said something, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, and I was like, wait, are you saying that nature, like, are you saying that it's a mixture? And he's like, yes, yes. And I'm like, okay, see, this is exactly why
Mm-mm.
we say that that's not why you shouldn't say one nature, is because if you're saying that they're mixed together, then you're saying that Jesus didn't have a truly human nature or a truly divine nature, and then we can't be saved. And that was what kind of started the whole discussion. And I'm like, look, man, and I was trying to throw him a bone too. And I'm like, look, man, I know a lot of Oriental Orthodox people who, when they actually explain what they mean by one incarnate nature, it's not heresy, and
Mm-hmm.
we actually seem to be confessing the same thing. So
It
I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you keep saying stuff that makes it
we
worse.
and he said, oh, it's a mixture. Like
Yeah, he said that he said it was a mixture, like that it was
we we
God's
we
nature mixed with human nature.
we literally say that we literally confess the exact opposite of that now. Like in our confessions, we literally say without mixture or confusion.
See, because that's what we say is without mixture or confusion, and that's exactly so the exact problem that so when people say like the problem between Oriental Orthodox and Eastern Orthodox is a linguistic problem, I feel like this is what they're talking about is because
Mm-hmm.
the problem we have with saying one nature is that we are worried that what you guys are saying is that it's like a mixture of the divine and human. And then as soon as you say, well, it's not a mixture, we're like, okay, well, then I guess it's okay. But like, you know, we just want to be more precise or whatever. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt. It's like we're just trying to be more precise, but like I get it. Not everybody is going to be, you know, like I get it, and I don't believe you guys are in heresy. So that's my
Yeah.
point. But like what this guy was saying is exactly what concerns us when we hear this
Yeah.
phrase one nature.
Right. Exactly. It's just like either bad catechesis or willful ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. I will give him this benefit of the doubt was that I asked him at one point if English was his first language, and he
Uh-huh.
said no. And I said, okay, so is it at least possible that maybe you don't really know what you're saying in English? And he admitted that it was at least possible that he was not using precise enough language because he doesn't know English
Mhm.
well enough. And at that was the point where I was like, okay, I really think you should talk to your priest because your priest is going to be able to talk to you about this and like actually correct it because
Yeah.
I mean it and if he's saying Jesus didn't have a human soul, it's like then what descended into Hades for our
Exactly.
salvation?
Exactly.
like
Um.
Like, how did the harrowing of Hades happen if there was no human soul?
Yeah. Because in his divinity, Christ is ever present in all places and filling all things, including constantly in heaven. So in what sense could, if he didn't have a human soul, in what sense could it be said that he descended into the underworld?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, and I tried to kind of clarify that, and I'm like, okay, but he even said that Jesus was not like so. You know how when we were talking about the tome of Leo or whatever, and you were
Yeah.
explaining to me like it was kind of the opposite of this conversation where you were explaining to me like this is why our side is uncomfortable with this language, and then now it's kind of the shoe is on the other foot. But like as I
Mm-hmm.
was talking to him, he said at one point he was like, well, God didn't die on the cross because God can't die. And I was like, wait,
What?
so is Jesus
That
God when
that
he's on the
that's that's
cross?
literally that's literally what we say. That's literally our language. God died on the
Right,
cross.
that's what I was like. So
Saint
I was
Saint
like, dude,
Saint Cyril that was like one of the big things that he said in response to Nestorius.
right, that was exactly what I said. I was like, dude, one of the big reasons why Nestorius is a problem is because Nestorius says that God didn't die. How can you say God didn't? So I started asking him, I'm like, okay, so Jesus is God when he's in the womb, right? Yes. Okay, good. Jesus is God when he's teaching in Galilee, right? And he's like, yes. And I'm, okay, good. We're on the same page so far. Jesus is God when he's on the cross, right? Yes. And I'm like, okay, good job. Jesus is God when he's in the tomb, right? And he's like, oh, well, it's like, I'm like, dude, why is this so? What is wrong with you, dude?
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, like the whole thing, the whole our whole opposition to Nestorianism is quite literally in the fact that like it denies that God died, that God was in the tomb, that God and when we say God died, we mean that
That he
God
has so thoroughly clothed himself in human nature that he is even able to experience death with us.
exactly.
Like, it's a mystery, too. Like, don't get me wrong. As we're confessing this, it is mysterious that
Yeah.
the God of the universe who cannot hunger chose to hunger. The God of the universe who cannot thirst chose to thirst. The God
Yeah.
of the universe who cannot be killed chose to suffer and die for us.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
I really like, I really like the sort of garment language. He put on humanity like a garment. And that when I say he put on humanity like a garment, I don't mean like, oh, it's just God in a meat suit, like just a body. Part of that garment is a human soul.
Right.
Like he he put on humanity in his incarnation, so he experienced all that humanity entails, including death. So when we say God died, we mean like God experienced death. What is death? The separation of the soul from the body, which is
Right.
precisely why the the heresy of soul sleep is such a serious heresy, or at least one of the reasons why. Because it's like, okay, if there's no like sort of separable existence of the human soul from the body, then in what sense did Christ descend into Hades?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, and I don't know. I'm kind of curious if you've ever brought this up with people who believe in soul sleep, and if they've ever said anything about it.
Well, I've what I've usually said with people who believe in soul sleep is that this is a denial of the. Usually, my tactic is a little different than that, though, because usually I talk about the
Mhm.
fact that um, if we talk about soul sleep, we have to deny everything the New Testament says about life after death. But you're right that it's also a Christological heresy because to affirm soul sleep is to deny the full humanity of Christ.
Yeah. Um.
Hey, speaking of which, though,
Mhm.
since I'll get it back on topic for us very easily, and I'll take it to one of your favorite people. So I was just listening to a Stephen DeYoung thing, and it's relevant to what we were just talking about because I think,
Mhm.
um, I think the big issue, you actually hit the nail on the head. You said that the big issue with my conversation with this guy is how easy it is to get Plato brain. And we're here today to talk about Calvinism and to respond to APTV. And did you know that Calvinism is actually Platonist?
Oh.
So check
Oh.
this out. I'm gonna. I'm. Oh, sorry. Hold on a second.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's I'll go ahead and go on what you're saying,
Yeah.
and then and
Say.
then after that, I just sent you something that we can read, which is one of the notes I made. By the way, to people of my church, uh, there's going to be an Oriental Orthodox study Bible, and
Oh yeah.
God
Talk
willing.
about that for.
Okay, yeah. Don't forget what you're saying though. I don't want you because it
No, it's
sounds.
okay. Finish what you were saying because I want to hear about.
Yeah.
First, well, finish what you were saying
Uh-huh.
because I kind of cut you off for a second there, and then I do
Okay.
want you to share about the study Bible. And actually, I'm gonna read the thing. I'm gonna read the thing from your study notes, and
Mm-hmm.
then we can when when you're done like addressing this fully, that's when I'll go and kind of change gears to Calvinism, and we can start with kind of a bridge with Father Stephen DeYoung, and I'll play a clip for you from that. But go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So I just gonna say like we're I'm we're working under the Coptic Church, but it's representatives from all of our sister churches, and God willing, the project, like the first draft of the project, will be complete in in a by hopefully this time next year, in about a year and a half.
Nice. That's
So
awesome. That's way
yeah,
sooner than I thought.
yeah, it helps. A lot of our work is made faster with AI. But we're using AI properly. Like we're okay. So basically, we're doing two things. One, we're using AI for research, and what we're doing is directly feeding it the works of the fathers. So let's say like Saint Cyril's letters, right? We'll upload Saint Cyril's letters into the AI PDF GPT, and then ask it to find statements he makes about I don't know, like the question of two natures and so on. And then we find those passages, and then use them in the note. So that's one way. For some of the shorter notes, we give a detailed prompt spelling out from beginning to end what we want the note to address, and then for those short notes, we just have the AI generate a note, and then we sort of just go through, humanize it so it sounds less AI.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's sort of, I feel like that's sort of us using it more responsibly than just
Well,
than
yeah,
just
you're not using it to just be like, uh, AI, tell me what to think, and then doing that.
yeah. Far from it. Is like the exact opposite. We're
And you're
telling
also
it what to think.
checking, like, you're also making sure, because what you're doing is the AI tells you the location, and then you're reading it in Cyril's writings themselves. You
Yep,
know,
exactly.
like you're not just taking the AI's word for it. That's where people get messed up, I think, is they take the AI's word for it, and then sometimes they're wrong.
I I don't want to sound racist, but you can't trust the robots. You can't trust the robots.
I don't trust a clinker. I don't trust the clinkers.
they're
Sorry,
not.
clinkas. The
They're
clinkas.
not. They're not sending us. They're not sending us our their best and brightest.
Oh, that's awesome. They're not sending us their best and brightest.
They're not sending us their best and brightest.
That's awesome. Uh,
With that little announcement out of the way, so here's a note that I wrote for Genesis 2 on the
ooh,
living soul and what the human soul is,
nice.
per the church fathers.
Nice. Hey,
less
so
than
when you finish the OO study Bible, you're gonna send me a copy, right?
yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, heck yeah. I was half joking, but that's awesome. All right. You have no idea how much joy you've just given me.
Yeah, and hopefully it could influence like some future, like inspire some future editions of the of your Orthodox study Bible that you guys have,
yeah,
because one of my sort of mild criticisms of it is that it's a little too basic. It feels a
yeah,
little it feels a little too surface level, a little too like first 2 weeks of catechism class. And one of my like philosophies when it comes to this is that I believe um that the most advanced theology of the church is accessible to
yeah.
lay people as long as it's explained to them in a way they understand. So
That was Father Saint Seraphim Rose's whole, like, that was his whole thing, was that the most advanced theology of the church does not have to be like some ivory tower, impossible to understand thing. It can He used the principle of, that we say that the liturgy should be in the common vernacular, that everybody should be able to understand the liturgy, and he kind of used that principle to say everybody should be able to have access to theology. That's why if you read the book Nihilism, he sounds like a super scholar, like a PhD, whatever. But then if you read his later works, if you read everything that came after that, it's very down to earth. It's very like humble. It's very earthy. It's not this
yeah,
ivory tower thing. And Saint Seraphim Rose is one of my favorites. I'm so glad he's canonized now.
yeah, that's awesome. And especially because he's sort of been through the pipeline of tourism. Like he went through the pipeline of Western tourism of Eastern spirituality and
Yes,
all.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You and him are going to have great conversations in heaven.
Yeah, God willing.
Because, like, no lie, I said this to Sako privately, but, like, no lie, one thing that I'm really impressed with Sako about is that it's like people consider me a pretty knowledgeable person when it comes to spiritual topics, but in most areas, it's like, first of all, Sako knows more about like Hinduism and Buddhism and Zoroastrianism. Then I feel like he knows more about those things than I do about my own faith. But then beyond that, it's like he also knows the Orthodox faith at least as well as I do. So that's one of the reasons why I love getting to work with Sako so much on this stuff, is because I feel like, in addition to the fact that I just really enjoy his company, it's awesome to me that he just knows so much about the faith and about not just our faith, but about all kinds of things. And that's how Saint Seraphim Rose is as well. It's just like you read this man's books and it's like, man, this guy knows everything there is to know about Holy Orthodoxy. And then you read his books talking about, I don't know, something. It's like read his books responding to Hinduism, and it's like, oh my goodness, this guy knows everything about Hinduism and how to respond to it in a way that's both charitable and forceful. Like I think his
Yeah.
his writings against Hinduism are almost as powerful as his writings for Holy Orthodoxy. I mean,
Mm.
granted, they are for Holy Orthodoxy because he's not writing just to be like, I'm against Hinduism. He's writing to say, like, this is why if you're Hindu, you should be Orthodox, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty
And I
cool.
mean that's why the charitable approach is so important, because not only does it exercise like a spirit of goodwill,
Right.
so that you're not just like intent you don't give the impression that you're just like intentionally distorting the other's position to attack a straw man. But
Exactly.
also it's like when you do it in in a spirit of goodwill, and you like charitably represent the position of the other, and then proceed to like utterly dismantle it, it's that much more impactful, because like you didn't kick a straw man. You're like, you actually responded to what the person genuinely believes. So
Exactly.
so you sort of leave them with a lot less footing, because it's like, unless they're intellectually dishonest and they're just gonna keep moving the goalposts no matter what you say.
Right.
um i- if you're charitable, eventually, if the person is honest and they do care about truth, they'll be like, okay, I'm left at an impasse here.
Exactly. Exactly. At the very least, it's I don't have a way of answering that.
Yeah, exactly. um and and if there's something about their position that you're not completely strong on, then you just then you stop what you're doing and you ask them to clarify. And then
Right,
after they clarify,
exactly.
they're like, okay, given your clarification, if I'm understanding this properly, my issue with it is X, Y, and Z.
Exactly. Those of you who were watching yesterday on my live stream, you would have seen that that was what we did with the filioque. There was a Catholic guy who called in and he wanted to talk about the filioque, and I kept asking him, like, okay, can you clarify what it is you're saying? Can you clarify what it is you're saying? And we kept getting down, further and further.
Mhm.
But then where he ended up at kind of an impasse was that it was like he kind of seemed to want to move the goalpost from what the filioque actually is teaching,
Mm,
because he wanted it to be like sent. Seemingly to me, I might have been misunderstanding him. It seemed to me
mhm.
that he wanted the filioque to just mean Jesus sending the Holy Spirit onto the church, whereas as Saint Maximus the
Mm.
Confessor says, if that's all the filioque was, we wouldn't really have a problem with it. The
Right.
reason we have a problem with the filioque is because
Mm.
every time the Latins have had an opportunity to dogmatically address what the filioque is, they have rejected that definition in favor of the definition that the filioque is the hypostatic property of the Holy Spirit, and that they believe that the hypostatic property of the Holy Spirit of spiration comes from the Father and the Son, which, that's exactly the problem we have with it.
Yeah, it's like, as they say, from the Father and the Son, as if through one principle, like as from a single principle.
Right.
And it's like, okay, where do you get that?
Right,
Well,
exactly.
trick question. I mean, I know where they get it. So
Well, but also, like, how can it be one principle if it's from the Father and the Son? Because now, and that was kind of this guy's whole point, is he's like, well, it would be okay for God to share the property of being able to spirate with the Son. And I'm like, yeah, the Father can share that property with the Son if he wants to, but that's not the point.
well,
The,
okay, okay. Here I would be careful. Here I'd be careful, because when we're talking about activity within a trinity, um, we've gone beyond an issue of like God's volitional activity. So
right,
all the relations that exist within the Godhead exist by necessity,
right.
not
That's
so.
true. That is
so
true. So actually, yeah, like Saint Basil the Great says, you can't actually say things like that. You can't actually speculate about what God could do or would do or whatever, because
yeah.
now you're speculating about
Yeah.
the internal nature of the. You're right. You're right.
And when we say, like, you can't impose necessity upon God, we're talking about, like, his activities in the world.
Right.
Like, God could have created a universe like this, you know versus no, he couldn't, because da, 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 da. So in that realm of activity, then yeah, essentially, like, the only thing God can't do is that which is logically impossible. So, like,
Right.
for example, God can't make a square circle, because what the fuck even is a square circle? Like, like, um so, but when we're talking about activity within Godhead, it's now we're not talking about volitional activity anymore, because all the three persons, or hypostases of the Trinity, exist by ontological necessity. So, so begetting the Son and spirating the Spirit isn't something that the Father does as, like, a sovereign act.
Right.
Because the Father is, the Son and Holy Spirit are,
Exactly.
and because of that, he it's not something that that he could choose to give the Son, like the ability to spirate the Spirit, or
Right.
not. So it's like either the Son by his nature has it, or he doesn't, and that's where
Exactly.
the battleground
Well,
is.
and the other thing is that actually, so I was trying to be charitable and to basically throw a bone by saying, yeah, sure, he can do this, but that doesn't mean. But actually, here's the thing, that's actually wrong for another reason. If the Son is spirating the Holy Spirit, then in what sense is the Father the Father?
Right.
Because the whole point of him being the Father, the whole point of him being the monarch of the Trinity, is that he alone begets the Son and he alone spirates the Spirit. Otherwise,
Yeah.
he's not the monarch of the Trinity, and it's confusing why wouldn't the Son be also a father? It makes no sense.
Right. No, I mean, if I, to be fair, if I understand the Latin position correctly, they still say that the Father is monarch, like his position as monarch is preserved, because they say he's still he's still the grounding principle of the Godhead. So it's still because of him that the Son exists and the Holy Spirit exists, ontologically, and he's also still the Father because he begets the Son, and at least, for his part, spirates the Spirit, uh even if the Son take takes some ontological part in that second part, that second activity. But still, I so that, so that's their position for why the monarchy of the Father is preserved. But I obviously, we disagree with that, because
Exactly.
it, it's
It
sort of,
seems to me like that's a little bit of a cop out. Like you're saying
yeah.
that it's preserved, but then you're not actually you're it's like Michael Scott when he's like, I declare bankruptcy, and then Oscar is like, you can't just say bankruptcy and expect anything to happen. He's like, I didn't say it, I declared it.
I declared it.
That's what this feels like. Is like, I declare that the monarchy of the Father is preserved, and then I'm like, well, it's not though, and they're like,
Yeah,
well, I
exactly.
declared it, so it is.
Yes, it's about as meaningful as saying, "Try my cookie cookie, try my cookie cookie, try my cookie cookie."
Good one. I don't know if you can see it, but I drew a square circle for you.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Hold on. Wait a second.
It's just a square that I put a circle in.
Oh, wait. Okay, wait. Okay, I'm trying to see it. Uh, oh, I think I see it. Yeah.
That's the square circle. Oh, anyway, here,
Yeah.
I'll read
But
your. Oh, go
no,
ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just laughing at the square circle.
Oh, I'll read your commentary here. This is good. Genesis 2:7. A living soul. Scripture does not present the human person as either a ghost trapped in a body nor a mere collection of chemicals. Instead, a body and soul are united as one living being. The term soul, nephesh, psyche, and spirit, ruach or pneuma, are used with a wide range of meanings in the Bible. Sometimes breath, sometimes life, sometimes inner disposition, sometimes even angelic beings. This fluidity shows that Scripture is more concerned with describing the living whole of man than with giving a rigid vocabulary of parts. However, it can be said that according to the Bible, the body and soul are inseparable, unlike certain dualistic traditions found in Greek and Indian philosophical schools and later Gnosticism. The Hebrews and their neighbors did not see a disembodied soul as a pre existing pure intellect or mind liberated from its fleshly prison. Keep that term in mind when we start talking about Calvinism again. Keep fleshly prison in mind. I have a reason why I'm saying that. The soul that is separated from the body is in a pitiful state, living a sort of diminished existence in the underworld. Rather than the ghost in the machine, the soul could be thought of as a type of residue or echo left behind after the death of the body. Philosophically, the closest analogy to the biblical view is Aristotle's hylomorphism. The soul is the form that makes the body a living body, and the two together are the person. At death, this unity is torn apart. The body returns to the dust, and the soul continues in Sheol or Hades. Yet the soul does not exist as a whole human being on its own. It remains in the form of the person, waiting for the resurrection. If one was to find a close modern analogy for the body-soul relationship, one could think of the embodied person as a video game character, while the soul on its own is like the code that describes the game's character. The soul contains both the physical attributes of the person, like how they look, but also their memories and entire consciousness. Despite the death of the character, the code continues to exist in the system. The resurrection could be thought of as the character being respawned. At the resurrection, the human being will be made complete once more and truly alive. Thus, the biblical hope is not the escape from the body, but the restoration of the whole person. Christ himself reveals this truth. In his death, body and soul were truly separated. In his resurrection, they will be reunited, securing the promise they were reunited in his resurrection. My bad. Securing the promise that we too will be restored, not as disembodied spirits, but as glorified human beings. The fathers of the church echoed this holistic view. St. Irenaeus writes in Against Heresies, quote, "For that flesh which has been molded is not perfect man in itself, but the body of a man and part of a man. Neither is the soul itself considered apart by itself the man, but it is the soul of a man and a part of a man. Neither is the spirit a man, but the commingling union of all these constitutes the perfect man." End quote.
Yep.
Based.
So for my brother is a guy, right?
Yeah, it was a guy.
That would be called. Yeah, so for my brother who's listening in, that is what we believe the soul is. And that's why Christ had a human one.
Exactly. So on that note, so I said I would
Oh, yeah.
change our gears to Calvinism, and
Yes.
this. Have you seen this clip of Father Stephen?
I don't know. Let's play it and see what happens.
I tried to get it to. So there was this guy George. I don't know who he is, but he called in to Alex Soren's show, and Father Stephen was on, and they had a really good discussion. But there's a part in this that I particularly thought went well with our discussion here. So I tried to find it, but this might be we might be listening for like, I don't know, five minutes or more, but I tried to find as close to the right spot as possible.
As Father Stephen was saying in that dialogue with Gavin Ortland, it's like that iconic principle is foundational for every aspect of like life and your theology, how you treat other people. That if you spill the blood of man, by man will your blood be spilled, right? That which you did unto the least of these, you did unto me. It's the foundation for all Christian ethics, is that iconic principle. And like anybody that is familiar with, Old Testament, or like remotely familiar with Dr. Michael Heiser or, Father Dr. Stephen's work, that they believed in sacred spaces. They believed that certain things were like this matter was elevated, like the great sin of the king in Babylon, right? When the finger came and wrote on the wall was there were sacred vessels from the temple that he defiled by using them in an improper way. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's like all like that iconic principle like permeates all of these things.
Yeah, but a couple things. We got to distinguish first what's going on, like with Ortland. Like what is Ortland doing? Right? Because Ortland's position is that the at least second century church had relics and was venerating them, had icons but wasn't venerating them. Right? Was venerating the Theotokos and possibly other saints. Right? He accepts all this. He accepts all this. He isn't doing any of those things. Right? So when he makes this point about kissing icons in particular, this argument from silence about kissing icons in particular, he's not trying to present an image of the early church as being his church. He's already admitted on 100 scores that his church does not resemble the early church. He's just trying to put some points on the board for his team. See, look, there's this one thing the Orthodox say that they can't absolutely prove.
I think that's a good way to frame it. Yeah, he's trying to get some points on the board.
But there's a whole list of things we can prove that he still doesn't accept. So that's not an actual standard. And the other thing is, you have to understand that the core of this is that especially Calvinism, and that's where the iconoclasm comes from. Lutherans are not iconoclasts, right? Calvinism is where iconoclasm comes from. Flows through Calvinism into English Puritanism, right? And
real quick for the chat, if you just like Google Lutheran icons or like Lutheran church art, like it's like beautiful. Like they have really nice, art.
Yes, yeah. When it's amazing. You look at Schuping's church after he became a Lutheran. There are literal icons on the walls of the Lutheran church. Right?
Yeah.
But that comes through Calvinism, and it comes through Puritanism into all of American Protestantism and evangelicalism, right? Through Puritanism. It's because they're Platonists. John Calvin literally says in the Institutes that the body is the prison house of the soul. This is...
Did you note that?
Yep.
John Calvin.
I remember hearing this from Calvin before. So
John Calvin in the Institutes literally says that the body is the prison house of the soul. That is literally Platonism. That is
and Gnosticism.
And Gnosticism. the prison house of the soul. That's the fundamental that's the fundamental definition of Gnosticism. So when we say that Calvinism is Gnostic, and then they say, no, it's not. That's literally Gnosticism right there. When we say that Calvinism is rooted in Platonism, and that the Calvinist worldview comes not out of Scripture, but out of the Platonist worldview, and then you guys say, no, it doesn't, I promise, I swear. Saying the body is the prison house of the soul shows that your worldview is inherently Platonist.
Yeah. Now to be fair, you know, maybe, and you would know this better than I do, maybe what Calvin meant by that is like he's sort of appealing to that whole thing of like, you know, we'd rather be away from the body and with the Lord and all that. Maybe that's what he meant by it. I'm just trying to be charitable here.
Sure.
But still, it's like
I'm pulling up a PDF
of the institutes, right?
Yeah,
Or wherever
I'm gonna pull up a PDF so that I can. It's gonna take a minute to load. Keep talking. It's gonna take a minute to load, but I'm gonna look up the context.
Yeah, but still, like it's a very poor choice of words because it pretty much does violence to Christian anthropology.
Exactly.
And it sort of messes with this very holistic person, like personhood that we were talking about in the note that I wrote. Like, that we don't have this sort of idea of the soul as this thing inhabiting a body. It's rather, to quote, to quote Father Stephen here again, it's literally the life of the body. And we mean that in a very direct sense. Like it's not just the life force of the body. It's not just like the thing enlivening the body, but it's the entire essence and history of the body, of the person. Like a life, like the life lived by that being. And all of that, those memories, those experiences, and all that, that's all the soul. This is why I say, like, this is why I use that video game character analogy, because like in a video game or in a sort of digital simulation, if you will, everything that the character is held in a code in the simulation, right? Like it's all sort of like represented in that in lines of code. Now, I'm not saying that humans are literally like made of lines of codes and one code with ones and zeros and all that, but the analogously speaking, like there's a comparison to be made. The whole life of the person is the soul,
Right.
and that includes both physical and mental attributes. That include, like, so the fact that you have, that somebody might have brown hair, or that they might have blue eyes, or that they are they have these physical attributes. They like all that is part of, goes into like what their soul is. Now there's certain things that are not essential to the soul, like let's say because the soul also is like sort of the potentiality of the person.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say like genetically they had the potential to grow to be 6 feet tall, but then they grew up in a very like war-torn country where they had malnourishment, and because of that they only got up to like 5'5". So their soul would sort of be the fulfillment of their fullest potential. It sort of be like their best self in a certain sense. But but then there are also certain attributes that are like not purely accidental, that aren't just the result of living in the world, but are essential to the person. Like, so, I say there's like a sort of overlap there with genetics. Like the fact that a person might be of sort of European or like Black African descent, that's a soul thing as well. Like part of who they are as a person is that they have that descent.
Exactly.
So which by the way is hilarious, like when you think about that, because in Islam, in a lot of like sort of, to be fair, not in the Quran itself, but in some of the later like Islamic literature, it's very racist, because because it says that black Muslims who are righteous, um one of their rewards in paradise will be that they will be made white.
Oh, dude, that's what Seventh-day Adventism teaches too.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Seventh-day Adventism teaches that everybody in heaven is going to be made white. Ellen G. White says, says that everybody, that in heaven there's no different colors. People don't have different colors because they'll all be white like Jesus.
Oh. Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. To the no, no.
When I was to be fair though, when I was SDA, I didn't know that was a thing in Adventism, because most Adventists don't know that. And then if they find out, the Adventist church says, well, she didn't mean it literally. She meant it spiritually, like they'll be spiritually made white. But if you look at the context of her quote, she literally says, there will be no color line in heaven, for all people will be made white like Jesus.
Oh my.
She also said that black people shouldn't try to desegregate, and that white people and black people should never marry one another because it's bad for their children.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Ellen G. White was terrible.
Yeah,
Also, so Adventists will say that Ellen G. White was an abolitionist, which is half true. She was an abolitionist. She was against slavery. But her arguments for being against slavery, Adventists will rarely, if ever, show you what she actually said, because her arguments for being against slavery have nothing to do with wanting black people to be treated well or anything. Her arguments against slavery are that it's bad for white people because they're not working hard enough, and work is ennobling. So having black people do all the work is bad for the white masters because they aren't being ennobled by doing work.
Jeez. That's wow. No words, man. No words.
So I didn't find the exact quote that Father Stephen referenced because unfortunately he didn't say the page number. Love you, Father Stephen, but tell us the page number so that I can find the exact quote.
Try searching prison house.
Well, first, I will do that. But first, I wanted to share a couple of things from the Institutes. One is John Calvin mistranslates Romans 8:10, and I think that this mistranslation is actually as telling of his latent Platonism as what Father Stephen quoted. So check this out. It says, the body is dead because of sin, but the spirit is alive because of righteousness. Romans 8:10. The actual verse says the flesh. So actually, let me double check that because I want to make sure that I'm not wrong. But I'm pretty sure that the actual verse says the flesh. And if that's true, then this mistranslation would actually be very telling because he's understanding Paul's use of the flesh to be the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hold on a second. I want to make sure that I'm right. Oh, wait. I might be wrong. Okay, I might actually be wrong. But you are not in the flesh, but in the spirit, if indeed the spirit dwells in you. Now, if anyone does not have the spirit of Christ, he is not his. And if Christ is in you, then the body is dead because of sin, but the spirit is life because of righteousness. Okay, so it does use the word body there, actually. I was wrong. I apologize. I apologize. I was mistaken because I was thinking, because it's talking about the flesh versus the spiritual life, but I was wrong. It is actually, it does say the body, so that's okay. So that one's not John Calvin's fault. I apologize. But this one, check this out. Let me find it. Not to go beyond ourselves, since the body is a receptacle, nay, a nurse of 1,000 diseases. A man cannot move without carrying along with him many forms of destruction. His life is, in a manner, interwoven with death. For what else can be said where heat and cold bring equal danger? So this quote, the reason why I have a problem with this quote is because, again, you have this very negative view of human life. You have this very negative view of the human body and the human condition. That's Platonism. That's Gnostic. That's Gnostic.
That's Platonism, Patrick.
That's Platonism, Patrick. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is from page 306 of the Institutes. Nor are we deterred or to shun instructions, because the holiness which it prescribes, the law, is stricter than we are able to render, so long as we bear about the prison of the body. So he's saying that we don't have the ability to keep the law because we're imprisoned in the body.
Which the question I'd ask then, Calvin, is like, if Calvin was standing right here, would be, okay, so then are you saying there's a part of us that's not depraved?
Oh, he wouldn't like that question. He would burn you at the stake for that one.
Yeah, probably. But to be fair to him, fair, I heard
really quick.
I heard it was airing.
Somebody is going to say that this quote that we bear about the prison of the body, they're going to try to say, well, he's talking about, because elsewhere Calvin has some very beautiful quotes that to this day I actually think are extremely beautiful, in which he describes our sinful condition as a prison. So they're going to try to reinterpret it as that. Yeah. But note that that's not what he says. He doesn't say because we are in the condition of sinfulness or because we have a sinful nature. He specifically says we are imprisoned in the body.
Yeah. Which, like, that then opens up the, like, okay, are you saying that then there's a part of us that is inherently not depraved? And if that's the case, then what is total depravity?
Right.
Because it's like, okay, if by total depravity he just means like that, like, no matter what we do or say, nothing we do of ourselves can be truly pure good, it's always going to be tainted by a little bit of evil, a little bit of selfishness, a little bit. If that's what total depravity is, then sure, we can, to the degree we could affirm that, we can agree with that. Where we would disagree, if that's what is meant by total depravity, where we Orthodox would disagree is God's sort of how God then responds to that humanization. So the Calvinist position would be like, because it's not perfect, because it's not pure, because it's not how God made us, he looks upon us and he's disgusted because
Exactly.
we're not perfect.
Exactly.
And God accepts nothing less than perfection. It's
Exactly.
and we would say no, God looks upon that with compassion and pity and endeavors in his all-encompassing love and mercy to heal it such that it can be made perfect.
Exactly.
So it's like if you're a loving father, right? If you're any kind of loving father, if your kid has imperfections, maybe even glaring imperfections, like they're very selfish, they're very whatever, you might be disgusted by some of the things they do, but if you really do love them as a father, you're not disgusted by your child in totality until like some sort of external thing is then done to them that then allows you to love them.
Right. Exactly.
You're like, I love you, son, but here's this thing about you that like drives me nuts,
Right.
and this needs to be fixed.
Well, exactly. It's like, and all of us have that with our children, where our children have some sinful habit or something, usually something they learned from us, that we would like them to change. But if you don't love them until they change, then you're a bad parent. Your love for them should be unconditional.
Yeah. And this is where I feel like the whole monergism thing falls apart, because it's
Right.
like, because even Calvin, like it's sort of he sort of arbitrarily draws the line. I feel like, I mean, I'm sure Calvinists would deny that it's arbitrary, but when you really look at it in practice, it is arbitrary,
Mm-hmm.
much like his God.
Ooh, oh, oh, suck it, Calvinist. No, I'm just kidding. I should be more like Father Stephen. Sorry, Calvinists.
Yeah, exactly.
I love when he says that. Sorry, Calvinists.
But yeah, so it's like there's a sort of arbitrary line drawn in the sand where he's like where they say, well, God restrained the sinful nature of man such that human beings after the fall weren't as horrendously sinful as they otherwise could have been,
Right.
but still, but they were still totally depraved. But
Exactly.
so it's like, but when you say like, okay, because and even Calvin said that like when we do good things like natural goods, right? It's
Right.
because of the divine nature. The divine nature makes us capable of natural good, not supernatural good, but natural good.
Right.
Okay, well, if that's the case,
Calvinism is arbitrary and gay.
well, yes, yes. But it's like the problem arises. It's like the assumption then that like choosing God or saying yes to God is a supernatural good, and that's
Right.
where like they like, oh, it requires sort of a coercive type of divine grace, because giving like lovingly helping out a homeless person, oh, that's a natural good, but
I would
say,
actually argue that it's sort of the reverse. We were created to love God, and so it sort of comes naturally to us unless
that's what I was gonna
we
say.
actively suppress it with sin. Whereas something like caring for that homeless person who smells bad and is angry and unpleasant to be around, that requires supernatural grace from God, because it's very difficult to love people who might be difficult, whereas it's very easy, again, unless we suppress it with sin, which most of us do, it's very easy to love God.
Yeah, it's I would say, like, the same part of our soul which sees a homeless person and feels compassion and pity for them and wants to help them, it is the part of the soul that says yes to God.
Exactly.
That's the divine image at work. And this is where I feel like that line is arbitrary, because it's like assuming, oh, because it's something that involves salvation, we have to separate it out. Like, we have to sort of put it in its own box. So like, it's this extraordinary supernatural act to say yes to God, but it's nothing special to not only help a homeless person, but like genuinely look down, like look upon that homeless person and feel love and like.
Exactly. But see, the way I see it, like, you're exactly right. That line is arbitrary, because the reality is that Jesus says that what you do for that homeless person is what you do for him.
Yeah.
Like, St. John Chrysostom says, if you can't see Christ in the beggar at the church door, then you will not receive him in the Eucharist inside the church.
Yeah. I think he might have even said, like, maybe that's the quote, or maybe on a separate occasion he said something like don't bother approaching the chalice if you passed a beggar or like a homeless person on your way over here.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, again, I don't know. And I want to clarify, by the way, so I said the thing about the body, so I can already foresee that some people are going to latch onto that and be like, oh, see, so the body and the flesh, or the body is sinful in scripture too, because it says the body is dead because of sin. But that's not what it means in that context. In that context, he's talking about the flesh, meaning the passions, the fleshly desires. And then he uses
so
the word
that
body as a catch-all.
that includes the body and aspects of the soul
Exactly.
that are held in bondage to the passions. So basically, anything in you that is carnal.
Exactly.
And that includes mental things as well, like pride, like conceit, and things like that.
Exactly.
It's not just the animal stuff.
Exactly. It also includes the part of you that thinks you're better than that homeless person.
Yeah.
The part of
So
you that can't love the homeless person. The part of you that loves your sin more than you love God. All of that is the body in Romans 8:10, because it's talking about the body as in the bodily passions, the bodily desires.
yeah. And by the way, it's funny. We have not played any of Ancient Past TV, but already I feel like we're already doing an effective refutation of his position without even playing the video, just in this topic of the soul. Like, by
Exactly.
happy accident, this topic of the soul that started by that Oriental Orthodox guy who called in actually gave us like the perfect thing to sort of
It does.
take a swing at Calvinism. Like,
Well, it does, because the thing is that exactly what you just said. The soul is, because it exposes the nature of Calvinism for what it is. It exposes the arbitrariness of Calvinism, but it also exposes the sort of pagan underpinnings, the Platonic underpinnings of Calvinism. So,
yeah,
but if you want, we can. Oh, go ahead.
and and it really is like it really does come down to like a glass half empty or half full kind of thing because going back to the question of total depravity, the Calvinist believes God sees our imperfections, our fallenness, our tendency towards like the worst impulses, and he like is disgusted by us. He despises us.
Exactly.
Because we're not perfect. Whereas we would say, take the glass half full thing, is he sees what is redeemable in us and endeavors insofar as we're willing to redeem that. He sees
Exactly.
he sees the bad in us, but he also sees the good, and he extends his grace to us with the desire to then sanctify us, which is theosis, by the way, and sort of as refining metal in the blacksmith's furnace to sort of burn away those impurities gradually until what you're left with is pure, spotless metal. So,
Exactly.
um, so it's like the Calvinists are in a sense part right when they say like because God is so pure and good and holy, like and has no evil in him, his nature is inherently in opposition to sin. Yes, but not in opposition to the sinner, because there's also a part of the sinner that is not evil,
Right.
that is good, and it's that part that God reaches out to.
And just as importantly, our nature is not in fundamental opposition to God. Because
Yeah,
that's the other side of what Calvinists try to do is they try to say, well, no, it's not that God is in opposition to you, it's that you are inherently in opposition to God because I'm a sinner, blah, 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 blah. No, you are not your sin. You are not, quote unquote, born this way.
right.
You are
Because
not defined by the ways in which you sin. Your nature is actually created by God, loved by God, and by nature, like I was saying before, by nature you are called to God. By nature you are drawn to God. The problem is that we suppress that in unrighteousness. Romans 1 talks about this. The problem is not that our nature is against God. The problem is that in our sinfulness, when we pursue sin, we depart from God and we actually suppress our true nature.
right, and
Sin is unnatural.
yeah, and I would say like to some degree, sometimes we suppress it actively. Other times it's unconscious.
Right.
Like Paul says, like we want to do good. So it's like I want to do good. Why do I keep doing bad? Right? Because it's like because in a certain sense we're also addicted to sin.
Right.
But it's like okay. In a recent episode of Lord of Spirits, they actually sort of had a really good conversation about this. The fallen nature is like a tree that is that has the potential to become like a big beautiful tree, but either through lack of nutrients or being tied up, like chained up, or like grown in a sort of like a crooked way, like how like trees sometimes when they're grown up, like people will sometimes tie them to try to like grow a certain way. So,
Yeah.
like something in the environment is like the nature the of the creature is trying to become what God made it to be, actively trying to do it, but it's like it's frustrated um in that process, and unable to on its own fulfill that teleology because the because of the fallen nature of sin. So but it's still there, and it's still trying to become what God made it to be, even when it's sort of those good impulses are aimed in the wrong direction. Like so like even if somebody is like somebody has a desire for the good, now because of the fall, that desire could then, instead of being aimed towards the ultimate good, which is God, it's towards fleeting transient goods like uh sexual desires or wealth or whatever. But it's still goods, because
Right.
insofar as those things are good, they have their goodness originating in God.
Exactly. This is what C.S. Lewis argues.
Yeah, so it's like a tree that has the potential and the telos. It's like a seed that has the telos to grow into a tree, but it's like at every stage it keeps getting frustrated in that process, into
Exactly.
and what you get is like a crooked, emaciated looking tree instead of but the very fact that it still has that treeness, and that it's still naturally trying to be a tree, means that there's still something in there that is good, still something in there that is fundamentally good,
Mhm.
and like redeemable.
Exactly.
So and I feel like, and like we were saying, Calvinists sort of implicitly recognize this, but they make this arbitrary distinction between like natural good and supernatural good.
Which they inherit from Catholicism.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though Saint Augustine didn't, thank God, didn't follow the line of his own thought all the way through. Calvin sort of just finished it.
Yeah. Calvin did what he usually does and finishes Augustine's thoughts for him, which is exactly why the church does not honor Augustine because of his writings. Augustine's theology is not great. The church honors Augustine because he conquered his passions, and we see that as
Yeah.
really beautiful. Also, I
Yeah.
just wanted to clarify that earlier. So, earlier when I said the thing about like it takes supernatural grace to help a homeless person, I want to clarify for my Orthodox audience, I was not speaking that as what I actually believe. Like, again, I don't believe in a distinction between supernatural grace and natural grace. What I was doing is I was saying, like, if I were to grant this reality, then I would think that it would actually be more like this, because and then what I said. But I realized that I was not exactly clear on that, so I wanted to go back and kind of clarify that, because I don't want to seem like I'm agreeing with something that we don't hold to.
Yeah.
Please
But
don't
yeah.
think I'm a heretic.
The Inquisition has ruled your innocence.
That was a close one.
Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. I don't know if you've ever seen the Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yes.
Yeah,
Dude,
I was singing that part of the song Hellfire.
yeah. Dude, I loved that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite one was though? Pocahontas. Just something
Oh.
about that. Just something about that tree worshipping native girl that just I couldn't. I
Uh,
just couldn't stop, man.
oh okay, let's be careful here, because like, okay, she's an adult in the Disney version, so that's That's fine. But in real life, she wasn't.
She was like 12, yeah. In real
Yeah.
life, that's true.
Yeah.
But you know what's crazy though? In real life, she was a Christian. She was actually not a tree worshipping pagan.
Yeah, I like she converted. I think at some point when.
Yeah, she wrote before she died, she said that if people told her story, the one thing that she wanted to be remembered was that she had become a Christian.
Ah.
So that's super based. Based and GigaChat. But yeah, no. I was definite in the real life, or I mean in real life she was a kid, but in the movie she's like an adult, so it's okay. Nobody come nobody come
Yeah,
at me.
yeah, and in the movie they totally like made her into a Native American supermodel. Like,
Right. And they also make her husband into like an upright dude who's just trying to get by, as opposed to
a
well,
pedo-
yeah, as opposed to Muhammad.
yeah, as opposed to Mohammed, exactly.
Oh,
Like you know what? Whatever we're talking about pedophilia,
we'll just
instead of
call
like
it Muhammad.
instead, yeah, we're just gonna call it Mohammedism.
That's what M in MAP stands for.
What?
You know how now they want to add
Oh yeah.
to the rainbow flag for
Oh yeah, minor attracted people. Yeah,
yeah.
so
So that's
instead of
Muhammad.
MAP, yeah. So okay, so instead of
Or as I like to call them, millstone people.
yep. Instead of MAP being minor attracted people, we in our headcanon it's Mohammed adjacent people.
Yeah, Muhammad adjacent people, exactly. Before Prophet Muhammad, police be upon him.
Police be upon you. But
No, go
oh
ahead.
man, what were we saying? Hold on. Okay, it's the whole Pocahontas thing. Totally. Oh yeah,
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to throw you off.
no
I was
worries,
making
no
a
worries.
joke.
Okay, it's okay. I traced it back out, like I was saying, like the heretic thing, the mea culpa.
Right.
Um, um, but which by the way, it's funny because like because Frollo in Disney's version of the Hunchback of Notre Dame does come across as very Calvinist to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Except
Is
okay,
he not a
except
Calvinist?
well, no, this is before Calvinism. It's in 15th century France,
Oh, that's
like
right.
medieval France.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I knew it was in France, but I still thought that I guess he's a Thomist, so that's kind of the same thing. That's just the Catholic Calvinists.
Ish. That's sort of its own conversation.
Thomism is just Calvinism for for people who want the Pope. No,
Yeah.
actually, that's Jansenism.
Jansenism, I think.
Yeah,
Is what you mean.
Jansenism. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
Jansenism. That's Calvinism for people who want to be under the Pope.
If there is one Catholic apologist, I would really love to have a dialogue, just because I really, really respect him. It's Christian Wagner, the guy from Scholastic Answers.
Wagner, the Wagner Group.
Zavagner. Yeah, he's really good. Like when he, I would say like he does a pretty good job of being charitable when dealing with like both Protestants and Orthodox and stuff.
That's cool.
So,
I've never listened to him, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah, definitely recommend it. But but like so. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what I was saying about like Calvinism before before you made the clarification that you didn't make the distinction between natural and supernatural grace. Um,
We were talking about. Oh, you were talking about the analogy of the tree, and I was talking about how that's
oh, right,
from
right.
C.S. Lewis, or that sounds like C.S. Lewis. And then
Yeah.
you were talking about how it's an arbitrary distinction. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, in order for our being to be inherently in opposition to God, it would mean that the divine image was utterly destroyed, like without a trace, like just completely obliterated, such that we're just rendered a hollow shell of a human being. Like we couldn't even have an inclination towards good, towards God. In other words, like even the natural good, like whatever Calvinists call natural good, like obeying the law out of genuine desire to obey the law and be good. Um, like even wanting to be good couldn't be a
Right.
thing. We'd just be completely like just like spiritually and mentally retarded. Like just
Exactly.
because sin is privation.
Right.
Like you can't be inherently privation because you wouldn't exist.
Exactly. Well, they don't believe that. They don't believe sin is privation. That's part of the problem with Calvinism.
Okay. So they see it as like sort of a
They
like
see
evil as
sin as they see evil as a real thing in the world, and
like
they
a
see
real
God as the
substance.
creator of it.
Ah.
That's one of the reasons why I always say that Calvinism makes God evil, because they believe that evil originates in God.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe he basically foreordained all things, then um, although I've heard that some Calvinists are on a spectrum when it comes to this. What like I've heard some of them believe that God only knew what was going to happen and he just sort of let it happen, so he didn't stop the fall.
But I mean, that's what we believe, is that
Yeah,
we believe that God foreknew all things. But to be a Calvinist, I mean, one of the fundamental things of Calvinism is, as R.C.
mhm.
Sproul expresses it, that there's no maverick atom in the universe, that
Right.
everything that takes place, it takes place expressly according to the decree and the will of God, that God expressly at some point in eternity past willed that everything that takes place.
Yeah.
And this is why, so the Calvinist God is the originator of everything that's good, yes, but also of everything that's evil, including our decisions. So this is why, even though John Calvin himself affirmed free will, later Calvinists reject free will. And the reason
They
they reject free will is because they recognized that to be sort of internally consistent, they would have to say that there's no such thing as free will, since in order for there to be free will, people have to actually be able to make decisions in some sense. And they can't in Calvinism, because God has already decreed literally everything that happens.
in other words, later Calvinists finished Calvin's thoughts for him.
Exactly. So,
And you really do see sort of like the fruits of
right.
that sort of line, that sort of chain of thought that begins with Saint Augustine. Like
Exactly.
whereas if you begin with if you begin with the chain of thought of pretty much all of Eastern Christendom, like, and I can't stress this enough, all of Eastern Christendom. I don't just mean I don't just mean Chalcedonian Orthodoxy. I don't just mean Oriental Orthodoxy. I mean the Church of the East as well. All of Eastern Christendom, like Augustine is, and even many of the pre-Augustinian Latin fathers. Actually, I think all of them.
Right.
And some of them after Augustine, because
Yeah.
before his thought has sort of become the norm of the West. In other words, just the phronema of the early church as preserved and continued in the East in totality.
Exactly.
If you begin with that that understanding of what human nature is, you don't end up with all these difficulties.
Exactly.
You just you avoid all of these tensions altogether.
Right. Exactly. Which is one reason why I always say that the vast majority of atheists you meet really aren't rejecting Christianity. They think they are. They hate Christianity and they hate Christians, but they've never actually experienced Christianity. They're only really rejecting the stream of pseudo Christianity that is basically taking Augustine's thoughts and running with them. That's all they're really rejecting, because none of them show any knowledge at all of Christianity.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you could still, fully knowing Orthodox theology, because to be fair, we've had Orthodox who have become atheists or followers of other religions or whatever, but I think when you do understand the full, I think at a subconscious level, I don't want to be too annoying here, because I know, I don't like it when people try to psychoanalyze me, so I don't want to do it too much
Right.
here. But perhaps it could be the case that for those who do understand the traditional Christian teachings on the love of God and his intent towards humanity, and then reject it, I think is out of a sense of even if they say and even genuinely believe it's from a place of intellectual incredulity, I think there's also a heart thing going on there.
Absolutely.
And that heart thing is, this is too good to be true.
Yep.
I fundamentally want this to be true, but it can't, but I'm not, I've been hurt before.
Right.
And I don't want to, I'm afraid to trust this, because if it's not true, I'll have been hurt again. I'll have been played for a fool again. And so better to just, buckle down and, be accept reality as it seems, and be, the intellectually hard,
better to
the
have
hard
my neck
intellectualist
beard and fedora than
to be hurt again.
right.
And I do feel a lot of empathy with that, because in a certain sense, I think that when I rejected Christianity and became a Hindu, I was rejecting what I thought was Christianity, which was, the distorted American version, which is very Calvinist, right? All the
this is gay, and now you look back and you're like, well, that was actually gay.
Yeah. So I was right. I was right to reject that. What I thought was, I was rejecting what I thought was Christianity, but it wasn't. I was rejecting a hideous distortion of it.
Exactly.
But then when I actually started reading the church fathers, and little by little started philosophically inching closer and closer, back to the faith, I did have those things where it's like, gee, wouldn't it be great if this were true?
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't convinced yet intellectually. And I think like, and I don't think the two are in opposition. I don't think it's either A, you're genuinely intellectually not convinced, or B, you're you're afraid of being hurt. You believe it's too good to be true, and you don't want to be taken for a ride again. I think those two things could exist. Like, you're intellectually not convinced, and also but simultaneously you're intellectually not convinced, but you want it to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could be convinced that it is the truth, then you'll be gladly embrace it. I think when you do realize that the traditional teaching of the church is not that God needed to take his wrath out on somebody to forgive sins, that God is this like is essentially like this judge sitting on his throne waiting for you to slip up so he can get you.
Right.
That he isn't this exacting schoolmaster. That he's in fact the loving father of mankind, and creator of all things out of love, and wants only the best for all of his creation, including those who unfortunately don't ultimately get that,
Right.
get what he desires for them, and don't end up in paradise. Lord have mercy. Um, the desire is still there, and I think even a lot of the things, right? Like even the problem of evil, the problem of divine hiddenness, and all that is when you peel back all the intellectual rigor, it's really just the cry of a wounded soul.
Emphasis on cry.
Yeah, it's a when you peel back all the intellectual bravado,
Mm-hmm.
it's what you really have, I think, underneath all that is a crying child.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. I do have to say though, like, I agree with you, but I also, in most of my encounters with atheists, even atheists who are former Eastern Orthodox or who tell me that they were Eastern Orthodox at some point,
Mhm.
a version of Christianity, when they start arguing against Christianity, their arguments are always against things that are basically Protestant. It's like their arguments are not against Orthodoxy. Even the ones who claim to have been Orthodox at one point. Like for example, I was engaging with a guy and he claimed to be that he was Orthodox, and I have no reason to doubt that what he was saying was true.
Right.
Especially since he did know what, like he asked me questions about what jurisdiction I was in and who my bishop was and stuff. So he was asking questions that seemed to me to indicate that he really did have some experience of having, been in Orthodoxy. But then when he started making arguments, his arguments assumed sola scriptura. His arguments assumed that penal substitution was true. His arguments assumed all these different things. And I was like, dude, you say that you used to be Orthodox, but you're arguing as if the only Christianity you've ever known is like evangelical Protestantism. So why is that? And then he just got really mad and like was saying, well, you're saying you're doubting my experience or whatever. And it's like, dude, well, that's not true, but okay, I'm not doubting your experience. I'm just saying that maybe you're ignorant of the faith you claim to have been a part of. So I'm not trying to negate what you just said. I think what you just said is true, but I also think that realistically, a lot of these people just literally have no idea what they're talking
What
about.
the-
And actually
yeah.
don't know Orthodox teaching any better than Protestants do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. They're probably, uh, did he say if he was cradle or a convert?
He said he was cradle, and I think, if I remember right, I might be wrong about this, but I think he said that he was cradle and that he had been raised in a Greek church.
Oh, okay. Then, yeah, then maybe it was just he didn't pay attention in Sunday school or something. Or
Exactly.
well, okay, I'm not gonna assume guilt one
Well,
way or the other.
it could just be that nobody
Either
catechized him properly.
yeah, exactly. Like either he didn't pay attention in Sunday school, or his particular parish is just not very attentive when it comes to catechism.
Or conversely, he got into university, was really super impressed by or hated, maybe he had a bad experience with a family member or something, like you said about the crying child thing, and maybe he really liked, Bart Ehrman or something and really respected him. So he's just parroting some Bart Ehrman arguments, and Bart Ehrman doesn't know anything about Orthodoxy, so all his arguments are against Protestantism, and this guy is just parroting that.
Yeah, he's essentially arguing against his former evangelical background, Bart Ehrman.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's also possible, is that this guy just has some atheist that he really likes, and that guy, all his arguments are just against Protestantism. So the way that this guy argues, but I mean, still, I would expect that, I don't know. The reality is, I've come to see that with a lot of people, the person they're really trying to convince is themselves. So a lot of times people don't really argue from a place of, and this is why I think people strawman other people so readily, is because they aren't really trying to convince you of anything.
Mhm.
They're just trying to convince themselves.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to actually spend some time going over the video now, or do you want to since we have been going for almost 2 hours, do you want to kind of be done for this stream and then come back and either, I know we had said probably do the Gita next week, so if you want we can do that and then come back to the APTV thing, or do you want to do that, or do you want to actually spend like another hour on the APTV?
We could. I don't have a curfew here, so
Sweet deal.
so if you want to go, I can go.
Sounds good.
By the way, there's another note that I feel like might be pertinent here.
Sure.
That I wrote in the study Bible. Let me find it here.
Send it to me, brother.
Full send it, brother.
Mein Bro.
Mein Bratwurst.
Mein Bratwurst. Mein Bro. Son, senden me the. No, I don't know. I don't know German. What am I doing?
You're Celtic, my dude. Stay in your
That's
lane.
right. That's right. I'm Celtic. What the hell am I doing? They would have lynched me twice over.
Okay, here. Yeah,
that's what I think is hilarious when people today do this whole like, well, Hitler was actually the good guy because blah blah blah, because everybody was bad and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, I agree that everybody was bad, but let's be honest. If you're trying to argue that because everybody else was also bad, that somehow means that quote unquote the good guys lost, I'm sorry, but like,
yeah,
they were not the good. Just because the other side was also bad doesn't mean they were the good guys. Like, They were they were
it's
pretty
just
bad.
it's dealing in false dichotomies. Like two things
Exactly.
can be true. The Allies did some fucked up shit, and Germany was also was also a villain. Like
Exactly. There was no good guy. Let's just say it that way, because like I don't know, this has become a thing to me where I see this all the time. It's like, or people will be like, "Look, dude, Hitler actually said some stuff that I agree with, so that must mean that he's been unfairly treated by history." And I'm like, "Well, he said some stuff I agree with too, but he also said that he also did some really messed up stuff, and like I don't think that we should." What?
Reportedly, the guy was a vegetarian and he really liked animals. I really like
Exactly.
I love animals. Does this mean Hitler was misunderstood? No, it just means he had some good qualities
Right.
in what was an otherwise fucked up person. Like
Exactly.
al-
I love
also
it.
also is this the guy like to all the Hitler apologists? Is this the guy you really want to look up to? The dude had like all kinds of sexual dysfunction and
Right.
and apparently he had a thing for getting peed on by girls.
Yes. And pooped on.
Well, okay. You know what? I would be surprised. That is still a thing. That is still a thing in Germany.
I don't get it. I don't get it. He also was like, so he, I don't think he directly did this, but one of the leaders of the Hitler Youth was this dude who was into um he was a Mohammedist, if you will, particularly with little boys. And he actually, because they were pagan, he was super into this like pagan ideal that doing gay stuff with little boys was like somehow helping make them men or some stupid crap. And that guy actually got arrested by the Gestapo because they were like, this dude is doing gross stuff with little boys. We need to stop this. And then Hitler pardoned the guy and put him back in his position working with children. How is that? Like, how are we, or how is anybody going to say that that's okay?
Man. And the really annoying ones are like uh the sort of Stalin revisionists
Oh, I know.
who say like oh actually he never really became an atheist, or like he came to faith later on, and
Right.
apparently later on he respected the Orthodox Church. No.
No, what happened was he was losing World War II and realized that, maybe it's because nobody actually wants to fight for gay secularism. So he brought back some things with Orthodoxy to allow basically for the country to not get annihilated by Germany.
Yeah, like the Bolshevik propaganda went from like fighting against the fighting against the colonial imperialist powers of against the proletariat to suddenly in World War II saying like fighting for the sacred motherland of Holy Mother Russia, you know,
Right.
the graves of our ancestors and things like that. It's like
Exactly. Well, and the good side of that, though, like just to be fair, the good side of that was that because of that, you did see that like we were allowed to start building churches again. A lot of the monasteries that had been closed were allowed to reopen. So it's like there was a good aspect of that for us. But you're right that it's not it's not like it was genuinely from the heart for Stalin. Like Stalin was still a dick.
yeah, exactly. And the peoples of the various Soviet republics, including Armenia, were fighting for Armenia,
Yeah.
for fighting for their country. Like, you know, Armenians were fighting for Armenia to not be occupied by the Nazis.
Exactly.
So it's
Well,
like
probably to not get. I mean, frankly, like you had you had a very difficult choice in it, because it's like I can either fight to I'm either going to be at the end of this conquered by one evil power or the other, and I kind of have to choose which one is going to be, we might say, the lesser of two evils, right? It's like which one is going to give me, which one is going to be less destructive to me. And the reality is that most people concluded that, most Armenians and most Russians concluded that, Hitler was going to be more immediately destroyed. You could survive the Soviet Union. You were probably not even going to survive the reign of Hitler. So
yeah. Now, I mean, there's no evidence that he had any genocidal intent towards the peoples of the Caucasus per se, but absolutely towards Russians. This man wanted to do a Slavic genocide.
Yep.
He wanted to like either enslave or just exterminate as many Slavs as possible, whether that was Polish people, whether that was Slovakians, Russians, Ukrainians, you name it. Like, he saw Slavs as subhuman.
Exactly. Which means I'm surprised he didn't like them, because he liked animals. No, I'm just I am an animal.
Which by the way, it's also kind of hilarious how like there are Slavic neo-Nazis, like that's a thing.
I know, like all over Ukraine. It's like, what the hell? How stupid can you be?
That's like an Armenian being a gray wolf. Gray wolves are sort of like the fascist segment of the Turkish population, like the Turkish neo-Nazis.
Right. That's like a chicken loving KFC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chickens for KFC. Look at it.
Chickens for the processed chicken.
I'm going to read this Intercession of Moses thing you sent me.
Yeah.
By the way, I apologize. As I'm reading this, sometimes I read ahead a little bit, and then and I'm trying to not do that, but when I do that, I end up messing up some of the words. So if you hear me messing up some of the words, it's because I've read ahead, and I apologize in advance, because I did that before and then I corrected myself. But anyway, it says 32, 30 to 35. Which book of Moses is that?
Oh, Exodus.
Okay, Exodus 32, 30 to 35. Here we have the one instance in the Old Testament where an innocent man offers to take upon himself the guilt of sinners and be punished in their stead, and God firmly rejects such a proposal. Moses pleads for Israel after the worship of the golden calf, saying, quote, "If you will forgive their sin, but if not, blot me out of your book which you have written," end quote. Yet God responds, quote, "Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book," end quote. Each sinner bears responsibility for his own sin. The guilty are not pardoned through the punishment of an innocent substitute. Today, one of the major stumbling blocks keeping many Jewish people from the Christian faith is the mistaken notion of penal substitutionary atonement. From the beginning, the idea of an innocent man suffering the punishment deserved by the wicked so that the wicked may escape judgment was foreign to the Jewish mind. Indeed, if this were truly the teaching of the apostles and the ancient church, Jews would be right to reject the Christian faith, but happily, this is not the teaching handed down by the apostles or the fathers. The scriptures instead present Moses as an intercessor who stands in the breach for the people through his prayer and mediation, not as a substitute punished in their place. God forgives Israel through mercy and repentance, Covenant restoration and intercession, not through transferring guilt onto an innocent victim. St. Ephrem the Syrian likewise interprets the passage in this way. Commenting on God's words to Moses, he writes, quote, "If he had meant to do the people harm, he would not have disclosed it to the man who would stand in the breach for the people. The fact that he revealed it to Moses makes it clear that he was not ready to harm the people, for he had already prepared himself to forgive, and so he invited Moses to intercede." End quote. Based. St. Ephrem further explains that God revealed his intention of judgment so that, quote, "when Moses prayed and they were forgiven, that forgiveness would be important to them and the intercessor dear to their hearts," end quote. It is also worth noting that in this episode, God was prepared to forgive Israel through intercession and repentance, not through the punishment of an innocent substitute or through an immediate blood sacrifice. Moses prays, the people mourn and repent, and God relents from utterly destroying them. The passage therefore stands as yet another reminder that divine forgiveness in the scriptures is not reducible to the satisfaction of wrath through the transference of punishment. Rather, God shows mercy in response to repentance, covenant mediation, and the loving intercession of the saints. If St. Ephrem believed in a sort of transference of guilt to an innocent party and innocence to a guilty party, this passage would have been a perfect place to expound that doctrine, because he could have very easily used Moses as a type of Christ and his work on the cross, yet it is conspicuously absent, nor do any of the other fathers read this episode in such a manner. Based St. Ephrem.
Yes.
No, but you're exactly right, dude. Honestly, that is a really good example too of why we reject PSA. It makes no sense with the actual biblical narrative. The actual biblical narrative, we see the intercession of the saints, covenant renewal, we see repentance, but we never see God being like, "You must see, I require blood." It's not Warhammer 40K. Bones for the bone throne, blood for the blood god.
Wherever 40K.
Warhammer
I gotta
40 Calvinism.
Warhammer 40C.
Right?
You know what? After we're done streaming, there's a hilarious video I gotta show you. So
Okay.
So now we could go to APTV with
To gay PTV. Oh, I need to set my timer. Otherwise, I'm going to keep interrupting him. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
'Cause
Honestly,
I am genuinely trying. Okay, are you there?
yeah, I'm here. Something occurred to me.
What's that?
We don't have to respond to the video in order. There are timestamps that are topical.
That's
just like the
true.
last one. So we could see which part of his video is pertinent to our discussion and just tackle that. That way, the video will be this episode will be more topically fluid.
Well, the only problem is I'm not 100% sure. Let me see. No, actually, you know what? Let's take a look.
Let's see what the timestamps are.
So we've been responding to by what standard, and then
I feel like we've sort of beaten the tradition to death. We can get back to it later.
In his last video, we did go through that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
We also, in his last video, we did the rewriting church history thing pretty thoroughly. So,
yeah.
let's see. So he has the triumph of heterodoxy. I feel like that's just going to be more crap about icons. And we're doing literally a whole series going through
Icons, yeah.
icons. So I don't necessarily. I mean, we can go through it. 'Cause it's
You know what we could do?
Hmm.
We could actually split this up between series. So because we're tomorrow's book club day, right?
Yeah.
We could actually find the sections of the videos where he talks about the icons and respond to it with the book.
I mean, we could. I think I'm actually going to skip to the section on icons, though, because it is pertinent. Because we've been talking about the soul and we've been talking about the. So since I suspect that that's where he's going in this section, why don't we jump to there? And then this is a fairly long section, though, so we're probably not going to get through it today. But we've got a comment from from one of APTV's fellow homosexuals. It says, "Baptist is the one true church. Trail of Blood, 1931." No, dude, that book is dumb. And if you actually read Trail of Blood, that book doesn't say that you're a Christian. That book says that you're a pagan Gnostic who is in a line of succession with other pagan Gnostics. So is that really what you want?
What's that book about?
Trail of Blood?
Yeah.
Trail of Blood is a Baptist book where this Baptist pastor examines church history and then interprets every false Christian group like Gnostics, Cathars, and all these different groups that have sprung up throughout history. And he says that actually that's the true church, and that the church the church Catholic, like the church fathers and stuff, they were actually the false. It's very similar actually to what APTV believes.
Wow.
This guy also says submit to Trump, so I think he's just trolling. He's actually probably just a troll, but he says submit to Trump. So,
right. Yeah.
Did you donate to Avoid History? Did you donate to the thing to get a Trump statue built? I would laugh if he says yes. Did you hear about that, Sako?
No.
Okay. Pump the brakes. I've got to show you this.
Okay.
Statue. So it's so freaking stupid. Check this out. So a Baptist pastor did this massive fundraiser to get this for giant freaking gold statue of Trump built. But these are the same people who say that we are idolatrous.
Wow.
These are the same people who say that we worship idols, but he did like a massive fundraiser and got this statue built.
Let me see. Oh my. What the actual fuck? It looks like they definitely captured his beer gut.
Do you think that? Do you think that if we refuse to bow to the statue, they'll put us in the furnace?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm ready to go, man. Like,
I will definitely go into the furnace rather than be bowing down to that statue. Oh, Avoid History is back. He says that's not idolatry because he's not a religious figure. It's okay for politicians. Cool. So it's okay to honor, but it's okay to
So-
honor
so it's
Jewish
okay. So yeah.
politicians,
But
but not Christian martyrs. Got it.
wait, so this is in the comments, is like in real time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what
I
the
would
speech
say
said.
so you're saying you could venerate the shit out of a political figure, even bow down to there was a king, bow down to them, call them like all kinds of lofty names, as long as they're a secular figure.
Well, he's not. He's gonna say no because you said king, and he's a Baptist, so he's gonna be like, no king but Christ, no king but Christ. But yes, if they're an elected, as long as they're a gay elected figure who hates God, then yes, you can apparently do that. And then he's like 50 million Baptists killed by Catholics and Orthodox. I swear this dude is trolling. Like he has to be.
Yeah.
This is just like the dumbest, lowest of low tier dumb
Yeah.
things.
Oh,
so
wow.
it has to be trolling.
Right.
What? Okay, this dude has to be trolling. Like, look at this. He says we can pray to Trump because he's alive on Earth. Dude, you have to be trolling.
he has to be.
I'm pretty sure that he's either Catholic or Orthodox, and he's just trolling. Pretending to be a Baptist at this point. His name is even Avoid History. So, dude, you're hilarious. You're hilarious. But yeah, he's just trolling.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, wait. So the part about the like in the timestamps, is there anything that talks about like atonement or like depravity or anything, like anything that seems like it would cover those topics in the timestamps?
Let me see. I didn't see anything. Let me look.
Hmm.
No, there's only the closest thing to something like that is that he has the quote unquote gospel of asceticism. So that's gonna be the same thing where he's gonna be like, look.
Oh, there you go. Okay, you cut out for a few seconds.
Dang.
But
the closest thing to what you asked is this, where it says the gospel of asceticism.
Mm-hmm.
And like the only things, that's gonna be. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure that it's just gonna be the same thing as was on his other video that we watched, where it's like, this is why Jerome is so evil because this literal heretic who didn't believe in fasting or some BS.
Oh, in that one, okay. So in this one, when he goes after Jerome, he goes after her for the. I'm trying to remember what was the name of that one. The one female Roman saint. I think it was either Saint Paula of Rome or her daughter. I can't remember. Anyway, there was like a girl who like went so hard on the asceticism that she died. And like apparently Jerome praised her for her commitment to the asceticism, even to the point of death. And apparently like it scandalized a lot of people, including like some of the Christian community or whatever. It's like, okay, we don't believe in like starving yourself to death. So,
I mean, like
so
I said
if Jerome did go to those extremes, then he's wrong. We can
right.
We're not
That was
afraid to say
actually the
Jerome was
example
wrong.
that I used when he brought up Jerome on the other video. That was actually the example that I used to say that, yeah, most Orthodox Christians acknowledge that Jerome is wrong in this issue, but that doesn't mean that Helvidius is right.
Yeah, like again, it's a logical leap to say extreme asceticism wrong, therefore all asceticism wrong, therefore monasticism wrong.
Right, exactly. Avoid History is asking if we've seen this dude's video on Calvin and Servetus. Have you seen that one?
No, I have not.
I have not seen any videos except one of this guy, except the ones Sako and I go through together.
The only three that I've seen are the last one we reacted to, the patristic one or lack thereof.
Right.
And then I've seen this one, not like every minute of it. I've sort of skimmed through it, but I've seen this one, and then the third one that I've seen is his one on Lucaris.
Oh, I have a, oh man, he has a video on Cyril. Of course he does. Of course he has a video on Cyril.
Yeah.
These goofballs can't avoid talking about Cyril Lucaris.
Yeah, I do. Here's where I will, like, as an outsider
so
looking.
Vain. I'll bet you think this bishop was about you, don't you? Don't you? You're so vain.
Oh, man. But like it really does sort of frustrate me a little bit in some sense that like as an outsider in, because like where I do think the Calvinists are right in their assessment is that he was like a Calvinist or a Calvinist sympathizer, and so I do believe he was like rightly anathematized at the Council of Jerusalem. Where I do feel a little uneasy is that like I feel like he shouldn't have necessarily been rehabilitated because I haven't seen enough convincing evidence to suggest that he was in fact not a Calvinist.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the so-called Confession of Cyril Lucaris is actually a forgery. Like, he didn't write it. So I think that there's some evidence that he may have been sympathetic to Calvinism. I'll grant that. But the idea that he was a full-on Calvinist, I don't necessarily think is true. But I trust the church. Basically the reason why he was rehabilitated is because he was martyred by the Turks. So
yeah,
as with many, many things in church history, you get forgiven for a lot if you get martyred.
yeah.
So that's basically what goes on. It's kind of the same thing with St. Augustine. It's like St. Augustine's moral purity is kind of, it's like we kind of ignore a lot of what St. Augustine says theologically in favor of the beauty of his upright life.
Right. By the way, side note, one day another thing we should do in the book club is read his book of retractions.
Augustine's retractions.
Yeah.
Honestly, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, to sort of do like a little bit of an audit, a little bit of taking stock of what he did repudiate and what he didn't, and so on. Because unfortunately, from what I've sort of learned through skimming through it, or at least like what seems to be the case, is that among the things that he repudiated were some of his earlier and more orthodox works.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's why I say like some things he did rightfully repudiate. That's good. Other things, other errors of his, he did double down on, and instead like revise, like said, don't read these earlier works of mine.
That's not good. That's not good.
No.
Well, then we probably won't end up reading that as part of the book club, to be honest. Because I don't want to read that. And by that I don't mean
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
I already know what some people are gonna say. So by that I don't mean that I would never read it in the sense of like I'm trying to hide from it or whatever. What I mean is I don't want to read it because I have so many books that I want to read and so many books that I want to
Yeah.
go through in the book club that actually have value. I don't really
Yeah.
want to subject myself to reading something that's just sort of for my own personal interest and that I'm just going to
Right.
be wanting to throw against a wall.
Right. That's okay. That
That
is
has
fair.
no value.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're so vain. I'll bet you think this book is about you, don't you? Don't you?
All right. Okay. So whatever section you want to do, let's see what he.
Sure. Why don't we do the triumph of heterodoxy thing? I know it's going to piss me off to no end, but the thing is that it is relevant to what we've been talking about. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming,
You know what?
because I'm assuming
What do
he
you what do
goes
you
into
what do you do?
here.
What do you do with this episode? By the way, I don't know if it has anything to do with the new this new streaming platform that we're using instead of Zoom,
Yeah.
but I noticed that like you released our last episode very quickly, which I was very happy about. I'm like, yay! I don't have to wait a month to see this.
Right. Well, it's because it streams directly to YouTube. So then
Ah.
I just let it be. Let it be.
Oh, awesome.
Let it be.
The title for this one should be something like Calvinism and the Soul slash response to APTV or something. Because like most of this episode has not been directly responding to APTV, but just more just Calvinism in general.
Yeah. Calvinism and
and you could say and some thoughts on APTV. You could phrase it like that, and some thoughts on APTV.
I saw the star. My thumbnail is based on what I thought we were going to be covering, so I'm gonna have to change the thumbnail, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
No worries, my brother.
No worries,
I'm
my brother.
gonna change the thumbnail to this guy because he's hilarious.
What guy?
The avoid history guy.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Nah, you're cool, bro. You're cool.
You're cool. You are cool, my friend. All right.
We are brothers.
Oh. All right. Oh, I need to mentally prepare myself for. I already know.
Okay. Let me put on my gay yoga teacher voice to help you out here. So we're gonna take a deep breath and align our chakras. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, that's no more ridiculous than what APTV believes.
Yeah. Remember, we are we are charitable and we are fabulous.
Oh, that's when we respond to Gavin Ortland, but we gotta be careful not to get him too excited. Oh.
Oh, man. Okay, you ready?
Yes. Let's do this.
The 8th century monk John of Damascus insisted
based.
icons weren't simply permissible, but absolutely necessary to the Christian faith. He said those who refused to venerate them weren't warring against images, but against Christ and his saints. He was declared a heretic by the Council of Hieria in the year 754, but 33 years later, the Second Council of Nicaea declared him a saint.
So, okay, I actually do have to stop because I remembered that I did not do enough to challenge this on the last thing. He kept bringing up the Council of Hieria. What he ignores is that the Council of Hieria was an entirely political council that was convened by an emperor who had unalived his predecessor and antagonized his own mother, and who eventually was fortunately put to death as a usurper. And then the Council of Nicaea II corrected the false teachings of Hieria. So this is the problem with his portrayal, is that he keeps portraying Hieria as if it was a legitimate council when it wasn't.
And it's like,
I'm going to try to find, there's actually a section in this book about the Council of Hieria. Anyway, go ahead.
This is why I'm wondering should we do this here, or should we okay, you know what, okay, we'll do this here and then elaborate further on it, like if we're reading the book and something to this video comes up, we can play the clip and respond to it tomorrow in the book club, with the book more thoroughly, but we can still address it here.
It's going to be a long time in the book club before we get to the part about the councils, but
okay, cool,
because they cover but they do cover the second or the seventh ecumenical council, though.
I've often wondered if there are any sort of preserved minutes or accounts of Hieria and what went down there.
There are actually. I wouldn't know where to find them, but yeah, it was a pseudo council that was convened by a literal heretic, usurper to the throne, and iconoclast, a literal iconoclast emperor. And then he's like, well, in his other video, he was like, well, they just dismiss it because the emperor at the time was an iconoclast. No, we dismiss it because it was a political council convened for political reasons and was not actually. But also, here's another thing that he likes to ignore about Hieria. Check this out. The Council of Hieria, while it rejects two-dimensional icons, actually commands the use of crucifixes. So crucifixes are permitted by Hieria. His church doesn't use crucifixes. So why is he quoting Hieria? What's good for thee, not for me, right? It's the same thing. So it's the same exact freaking thing that Gavin Ortland does, Gay Man Ortland does, where these guys, they don't actually make an argument that they are in continuity with the church. Notice this over and over again. What these guys do is they make an argument that nobody is really in continuity with the church. They're just trying to get points on the board. They don't even care if what it actually demonstrates is that the gates of hell prevailed. Because that's what you'd have to believe that Hieria was actually the true church and everybody else has been in heresy. But they don't care. They just latch on to Hieria because they're like, oh, it kind of sort of agrees with me on this one thing, but they ignore everything else that it says. They ignore that it's for icons and venerating them in certain circumstances as long as those icons take the form of a crucifix.
Right.
They're only not for venerating icons if those icons are a two-dimensional image, a portrait style icon. That's the only kind they're rejecting. Also, he likes to ignore the fact that the Council of Hieria happened because these people were influenced by Islam.
Right.
He's like, oh, well, Hieria says, we don't care. We're not bound by Hieria. Hieria was a pseudo-council. It was not accepted by the church. It was influenced by Islam. It was purely political.
Yeah. I mean, when you sort of get to the when you sort of get to the root of what an icon even is, because it's like, plus it's like Calvinists, like you said, it allows for crucifixion, which is a statue, by the way.
Right.
Like that's a freaking three-dimensional statue. So that's even, so if your definition of idol is religious, like because most idols in ancient times, almost all in fact, were statues. They were three-dimensional figurines. That's even closer to an idol in visual resemblance than a two-dimensional portrait icon.
Exactly.
And but it's like Calvinism doesn't even allow for a crucifix. It doesn't allow even for frescoes on the wall, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they don't.
Like you can't even do biblical scenes on your wall. Like do an image of Christ judging the living and the dead on the back wall of your church or something.
Nope.
Like you can't.
They're
Like,
even more strict than the Jews.
yeah. So it's like, so it's like, what use is this council to you? But
Yeah.
okay. You say you're
here's
gonna
another
read
thing.
something?
Here's another thing, though.
Mhm.
So listen to this. Matthew 25:31. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them out one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep at his right hand and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? And the king will answer and say to them, assuredly I say to you, insomuch as you did this for the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. Then he will say to those on his left hand, depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. I was naked, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. They also will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, a stranger or naked or sick or in prison, and did not minister to you? And then he will answer them and say, assuredly, I say to you, insomuch as you did not do this for the least of these my brethren, you did not do it for me. And these will go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life. So we see that the iconic principle is the foundation of all Christian ethics. Christian ethics is rooted in the idea that that which is given to the type passes to the prototype.
Yeah. You can, I mean, like a person who acts on behalf of the king, right? Like an ambassador. If you disrespect the ambassador, you've disrespected the king. Oh, wait.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. I'm glad at least you could hear me. You cut out for a second, but I'm glad at least I was coming through. Yeah,
How you treat the ambassador of a king is reflective of how you treat the king.
Again, like some of the more patriotic Calvinists here probably wouldn't like it if somebody came and like urinated on the American flag. like like implicitly we all know that this is a thing. They just arbitrarily draw the line at religious images.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Why do they do that? Because again, Calvinism is Platonist. There's an inherent Gnosticism that is present in Calvinism such that they reject the physical world. And that's why they latch on to hieria, they latch on to every little thing that seems to comport with their goofy ideas. And they say that we can't use icons because at the end of the day, they don't like John of Damascus because John of Damascus points us to the reality that God is working in his creation. And they don't like that because they don't want God to be working in the physical realm.
Yeah. And here I think like you can, by all means use us Oriental Orthodox or the Church of the East as sort of backup here. We didn't have a John of Damascus. We didn't have a Nicaea too. And yet we basically came to the exact same understanding of icons independently.
Exactly.
Like it's just part of the Christian deposit.
Exactly.
Like it, and I think it indicates that like it's far from being like something that was established in Nicaea too. It goes all the way back to the the early church because we like the schism that happened at Chalcedon didn't like it happened all after the all the parties involved already
Right.
had icons.
Exactly.
Now, granted, some traditions have more icons than not. The Church of the East used to use icons a lot more. Now they're a lot more aniconic, not iconoclastic, but more aniconic. Partly, I think, because they live under much stricter Muslim caliphates and stuff. So they have some images, like they might have like one icon Christ or and like maybe like 3 images in the whole sanctuary or something like that. Or in some cases, like none at all. The decorations are like geometric patterns and things like that. But but they're not opposed to icons.
But
They don't
also
see
even that though the ACE the problem with I mean I agree with you, they're not opposed to icons and I do appeal to that, but I would also point out that you're right, they are the least iconodual of all of the ancient Christian traditions. But you know what else they are? Nestorian. They're Nestorian, so of course they're the least the least iconic of all of the traditions because they have a Nestorian Christology. They don't truly believe in the incarnation of Christ. So what do we see? We see that they have a very sort of Old Testament kind of kind of view of the icons that's very divorced from like St. John of Damascus. Part of the reason why he has such a robust view of the icons and part of the reason why you guys also have such a robust view of icons is because we likewise affirm that God and man are now united in the person of Christ. And
Yeah.
the ACE don't really affirm that.
Yeah. I think now, you know, I'll be fair. Like I have to read more to see just how Nestorian they really are. So but at the very least I can say, like Christology aside, they're not opposed to icons in general. They're and again, they used to be they used to have more
Right.
icons.
That's the thing.
something that happened later.
That's the thing is that the early on they were iconodual, and then they developed out of it. So it's the opposite of the trajectory that APTV would claim.
Yeah. Of course, I'm sure he would be like, they went back to the roots, man.
Well, but see, that's exactly the problem, though, is that how is it going back to the roots? If the church was, as a whole, seems from all the evidence to have not been aniconic,
Right.
and then this particular group that split off from the church became more aniconic over time, then that's the doctrinal development. It doesn't make any sense to say that the doctrinal development is what everybody was already doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it seems like my internet might be kind of cutting in and out for some reason. So I think I might actually, I hate to do this because we just started on the APTV thing, but I think I might actually have us close up just because I want to make sure that I just want to make sure that my internet doesn't make it so that like any of your points get cut off or something on the video.
Okay, where was I getting cut off, or
I don't know for sure, but it's like every so often I don't know what, and I don't know what our viewers will see, but it's like every so often it seems like it just stops for a second. And the thing is, my computer is saying that I have full internet, but it does this on Zoom too, where it's like my computer says that I have full internet, but then my Zoom will say that my internet is bad. And so it didn't even start having any problems until we were like 2.5 hours in.
Okay, well, here's I tried something. Just in case it's on my end, I switched from Wi-Fi to data on my phone. Maybe that'll be, because it seems to me like I was coming through on your end, like you could hear me, but you were cutting off a little bit on my end.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, because I was like you heard what I said, or like you would cut off, but then I would keep talking, and then when you came back, you were like agreeing with what I was saying, so I was like, okay, so he's hearing me,
right?
So
okay, let me find it then. I can pull it back up. Failure.
What the hell? You so failure.
What the hell?
You have three choices for career. You could be doctor, you could be lawyer, you could be engineer, or you could be failure to family. 4 choices.
Failure. Oh, okay. Speaking of failures, I've got APTV back.
This link between icon and gospel is greatly emphasized by St. John of Damascus, and his 3 homilies on the holy icons are still the best patristic work for anyone to read who wishes to enter into the meaning of the icon.
John's 3 treatises on divine images became the basis for Second Nicaea's demand for the veneration of icons. He pointed out that Abraham had bowed or offered proskynesis to the people of the land, and Joseph's brothers had offered him proskynesis. John argued this was a fundamentally different reverence from latreia, which is the worship of God alone. If Joseph's brothers bowed to him, surely we should also bow to icons. If Christians were commanded to greet the saints with a holy kiss, surely we should also kiss the images of those saints who are now in heaven. The Second Nicene Council declared that icons are to be given.
Wow, those are really good arguments there, APTV. I'm glad to see you at least have the capacity to present truth once in a while, even if it's by accident.
Due salutation and honorable proskynesis, not indeed that true latreia of faith, which pertains alone to the divine nature. This continues to be the position of the Orthodox Church to this day.
There is a clear distinction here made between veneration and adoration. Adoration belongs to God alone. But all of us venerate to some extent different people, different things. We show honor and respect. And so we venerate our holy images, but we do not adore them as we adore God. It is not worship.
The problem is that in the Septuagint, the second commandment specifically forbids latreia and proskynesis to an image. Not just...
No, the second commandment does not... Oh my goodness. I don't know why we have to explain this so many times. The second commandment does not forbid all forms of image making. Otherwise, you would have to believe that the second commandment is violated by God's own commands to the Israelites. For example, Psalm 5, verse 7, "But I, through the abundance of your steadfast love, will enter your house. I will bow down toward your holy temple." Is the temple not an object made by human hands? Oh, it is. So it's just so stupid. This is so low tier. Exalt the Lord our God and worship at his holy mountain, for the Lord is holy. Psalm 99:9.
Yeah.
Exalt the Lord your God and worship at his footstool. Holy is he. Psalm 99:5. The footstool is the mercy seat, by the way. So that's talking about the object made by human hands, and talking about the priests worshiping God at that object, bowing before that object. I bow down towards your holy temple and give thanks to your name for your steadfast love and your faithfulness, for you have exalted above all things your name and your word. Psalm 138, verse 2. We see this over and over again. 1 Chronicles 29:20. Then David said to the assembly, "Bless the Lord your God." And all the assembly blessed the Lord, the God of their fathers, and bowed their heads and paid homage to the Lord and to the king. So by this guy's dumb argument, he thinks that all of these examples are these people committing idolatry, because he doesn't know how to freaking read and understand that it's not saying that all images are bad. It's specifically talking about idols. A graven image is an idol.
Right. Right. Like, does he think like here's even understands what an idol is. Like, it's a very specific thing. It's not just like because it's sort of been watered down, right? In our modern day. It's like, oh, it's anything that you sort of prioritize over God. So you can make an idol. And, to be fair, like in some homilies, even our Orthodox priests will say, like, like if you make an idol of your wealth, make an idol of your
Well, there's
your job as a father.
There's idolatry of heart, but that's not what the
Yeah.
second commandment is about.
Is
Correct?
about, yeah. So yeah, like it's only idolatry in the abstract sense. It's not true idolatry. Like it's still bad. Like it's analogous to idolatry because again,
Right.
you're essentially almost worshiping something other than God. You're putting something above God. But you're but it's not really idolatry because an idol in the Old Testament, in the ancient context, is a graven image that was meant to be a hypostatic locus of divine presence.
Exactly.
It was meant to be a dwelling place, or dare I say, a tabernacling place of that god or goddess. But it was coercive in nature because it was meant to draw down the spiritual entity into that image,
Exactly.
or like a part of their soul or presence into the image, and then obeisance would be then given. Like the idol would be washed, the idol would be bathed, ceremonially, symbolically fed, and looked out for. And in return, people would want that deity who has taken up residence in that statue to give them what they want, whether that's a
Give me
bountiful
things.
harvest.
Gives me. Exactly.
Yes, gives me, yeah, gives me harvest, gives me children, gives me whatever. That's idolatry.
Exactly.
That is a very specific thing. That's not bowing in front of something.
Exactly. The problem is not bowing down to things. The problem is the intention of the person and the object that you are bowing in front of, namely the idol. A graven image is an idol. That's what the second commandment is about. And we know
Yeah,
that.
and if you and here, and sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
And here we can actually have an account for, because if the Septuagint passage, I can't remember if it does, but if it does say both latria and was it proskynesis?
Proskuneo. Yeah.
Proskyne.
Or,
If
yeah,
it does say
proskunesis.
both, then that makes sense if an idol is in view. Because why? Because what is the idol? It's a false god, right? It's
Exactly.
you're worshiping the demons, so you're not supposed to venerate or worship the demons.
Right.
I mean, especially not worship. God forbid, because that's like sacrificing and like false communion. But definitely not. We're not uh, worship, but also you don't venerate them either because you're
Right.
honoring something that should not be honored. That's an evil entity.
Exactly. And you're
So
building a relationship between yourself and a literal freaking demon.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So even if you're not sacrificing to it, if you're like bowing down before it, you're essentially saying, "I honor you." Baal or whoever the fuck. Like
Right.
So of course it's gonna say don't sacrifice to them or even venerate them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, and exactly. Well, and so here's the thing. Here's the context of the 10 Commandments. Now the Lord God spoke all these words, saying, quote, I am the Lord your God who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. So that's the context of this is what the 10 Commandments, or what we call the 10 Commandments, this is the purpose of these things, is to show us how to worship the true God and to be a set apart people to the true God so that we have no other gods before us. And then it says, you shall not make for yourself an idol or likeness of anything in the heaven above or on the earth beneath or on the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, recompensing the sins of the fathers on the children to the third and the fourth generation to those who hate me. So the point of this commandment is that the way that you are keeping yourself, the way that you are separating yourself to be a people of God, the way that you are exalting God is by not placing an idol before him. So again, we have
I feel like a lot of Protestants forget about the "I am your God" part.
exactly.
They almost believe he's like almost. Well, I'm not saying they believe this, but like they almost make it sound like he's just arbitrarily saying that. Just to remind, just a reminder, guys. My name is Yahweh.
Right.
Like just almost like as a tick. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm Yahweh. You shall not. Oh, by the way, I'm Yahweh.
Right.
Like no, there's a reason why. Like I am Yahweh. I'm God that brought you out of Egypt, and you will have no gods. The Hebrew literally says like in my face, like before my face. You will like you. I'm the one that brought you out of Egypt. No other spiritual entity did that, or if any spiritual entity did do it, they were doing it under my command. Like if any, like talking about the angels, right? So it's like, that's the context that pretty much frames everything that comes after it. I am the Lord. I am Yahweh, your God. You will not make unto yourself graven images. You will not bow down to them or serve them. Why? Because well, you will not. Before that, he says you will not have any other gods. You will not make any graven image, etc., etc. Because those are those gods you shouldn't worship.
Exactly.
So for a Calvinist to then take this and say, oh well, if icon veneration was okay Bible, it would have only said no worship. No, because that would violate the context, because it would essentially amount to God saying you can venerate the demons.
Right. Exactly.
But he's saying no, you cannot worship them, nor can you even venerate them.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. This is actually the reason why this becomes so important and why we're harping on this is because as we progress through the Old Testament, this is actually what we see. Like when the Jews are building temples and doing syncretism and stuff, this is always how it starts. So for example, even in the beginning with Aaron and the golden calf, where they're like, this is the Lord who took you up out of the land of Egypt. So it doesn't start with them being like, we're going to straight up worship Baal, a false god, a demon, whatever. It starts with, we're going to just say that this is God. We're going to
we're gonna build this golden calf. Like, okay,
exactly.
We haven't gotten a response from God. Moses is taking too long. Maybe he died up there or something. We can't wait on him any longer. So instead, we're gonna build this idol. Like people don't get it. Like, sure, Aaron might have not believed in it. Aaron might have just done it, like caved under pressure from the people. But what was he giving the people to like calm them, to satisfy their worries, right? He's essentially saying, okay, I'll build you this idol and we'll consecrate it, and together we will draw down Yahweh's presence into this golden calf and cut out the middleman and just go to him on our own terms.
Exactly.
Now, Aaron doesn't seem to have believed in what he was doing. He was just sort of caving under pressure, but the people did.
Right.
And so the people were essentially treating Yahweh like the gods of the pagans, like he can be coerced down on our terms.
Exactly.
And be like given orders, or not given orders, but like, essentially become like a genie.
Right. Gives me. Exactly. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They want the gives
precisely
me
because they lost
want the gives me God.
Yeah, exactly. And it's precisely because they lost faith in Moses. Yeah.
That was supposed to be like a 1920s Charleston, because like Gibson girls. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
it was not as funny as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. But yeah, like a lot of people don't understand why this whole thing, because like, you know, if you sort of go off of American Sunday school, you'd think like, oh, God is mad because he told them no make images. They make image. God mad because they disobeyed. No, it's not just that they disobeyed an explicit commandment. It's how dare you think that you could draw me down on your own terms like these false gods you worshipped in Egypt, and just expect me to give you things if you do the magical formula right. That's what was so egregiously offensive about the golden calf. Not just, oh, God say no images, they build image.
Right.
It's an affront to, and that's important because we don't believe that the soul of a saint is dwelling in his or her icon. Nor do we believe that that Christ dwells in an icon of himself on an altar. We don't.
Exactly.
It's literally no different than the American flag. Just like people salute the American flag, we kiss the icon because in lieu of Christ not literally, you know, in the flesh standing there, like in complete bodily form, are the closest we get to, you know, actually kissing Christ, which we desire to do, is doing so by way of the icon.
Right.
In the same way that like like a soldier away from home, or just a person, you know, on it, let's say a business trip away from his wife, away for weeks, longs for his wife's presence, you know, for her touch. And out of that longing, he's like holding an image, like a little locket or something, which has an image of her. And then he might like open up the locket to reveal the picture and then like kiss the picture.
Exactly.
And he clearly doesn't believe like his wife's soul is dwelling in the locket, but is sort of his way of sort of reaching out and touching her from
Exactly.
as much as he can.
Exactly. Well, and as we're going to see, that there's also a dimension as we're going to see in early icons, in the early church's theology of the icon, there's a dimension of imitation as well. So by portraying the saints and observing the saints and gazing upon the saints, we are teaching ourselves to imitate the saints as they imitate Christ.
Yeah.
You know, here's another point too. Here's another point too that I wanted to, since we've stopped the video, I wanted to just point out. I'll be the
Mm-hmm.
He said that St. John of Damascus's writings are the for Second Nicaea. Well, actually, they're not the basis for Second Nicaea. Second Nicaea quotes from John of Damascus a lot because they are using St. John of Damascus to defend. They're using his theology to defend the icons, rightly so, because he's very brilliant. But actually, if you examine the Council of Nicaea II, which gay APTV clearly has not done, you would know that what Nicaea II actually starts with is a thorough examination of the Old Testament. That's the basis for their theological understanding.
Yeah.
And then from there, they use St. John of Damascus to articulate how those principles from the Old Testament play out under the new covenant now that Christ our God has clothed himself in human nature. So if you had actually read Second Nicaea, instead of just bashing it because you think you're smarter than them, you would know that things like Exodus chapter 20, things like Daniel chapter 2, things like First Chronicles 29, things like the Psalms, things like the rest of Exodus, where we after Exodus 20, where we see the Israelites being commanded to build a temple that has icons and has images in it and has a mercy seat made with 2 cherubim in it. That is actually the basis for what Second Nicaea is doing. St. John of Damascus provides the argumentation for how that theology plays out in the New Covenant. But it's actually the Old Testament that provides the basis for Second Nicaea.
Yeah, and again, people forget, like, they're like, oh yeah, the tabernacle had images of cherubim and seraphim, just like somebody like might have an image of like a griffin or something, but it's like, or like, Roman villas had like mosaics of dolphins or as decorative. It's not just a decorative motif, because the difference is that, unlike these mythical beasts, cherubs and seraphs were understood to be rational members of the heavenly council. So like when you have 2 cherubim guarding the like portrayed as guarding the ark right on the mercy seat, that is literally a depiction of whatever angels are guarding God's throne in heaven.
Exactly.
We don't know what their names are, exactly, but whoever they are, that's who that's portraying.
The 7
So
spirits
it's not just huh?
The 7 spirits of God.
Yeah. The 7. It's not those aren't pictures of like, that's not a statue or an image of a what. It's a statue or it's an image. Sorry, I can't talk.
It's an image of a who, not a what.
Of a who, yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are icons. Those are images of the saints in the Old Testament. Only reason there weren't humans is because humans weren't in heaven. And the scene that is depicted in the temple and tabernacle is one of Eden, of paradise.
Exactly.
So you have the divine council. You have like the images of pomegranates and other fruits with palm trees and things like that. It's the garden and the mountain garden of God.
That's
So
right.
and we still, in Orthodox churches, we still have those like motifs of trees and grapevines and fruits and all that. And we still have images of the living creatures, the cherubim and the seraphim. But now we also have human saints. The heavenly scene has been updated.
That's right. And why? Because now we live in the reality of the new covenant, where our Lord Jesus Christ has united the divine nature to the human nature.
Yeah, and where we're no longer exiled from paradise.
Exactly. Sheol has been harrowed.
Yes.
That's a nice hell you have there. It'd be a shame if someone harrowed it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the gospel of Nicodemus is always fun to read.
Heck yeah. Anyway, I do have to get going.
Yeah.
So God bless you guys. Share this with your friends so that they too can be freed indeed. we're definitely going to keep going with this. And APTV, I know that I derive great joy from making fun of you, but in all sincerity, like I actually do care about you. I care about your soul. I pray for you. I pray for you every day, and I genuinely desire to see you come to the faith. So, God bless, man. I hope that you and all your followers will come to know the Lord in His one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church.
Amen. Oh, after and then after you stop
Yeah.
recording, can I show you the video?
Yeah. Here.
Okay.